when we say, for example, we have the nitrogen-15 stable isotopes that indicate that humans throughout history have eaten a minimum of around 80% fatty animal products consisting mostly of ruminant meat. Well, what about the other 20%? If we were indeed consuming these like fibrous tubers, maybe a bit of starch, maybe minimal amount of starch, berries, nuts, and things like that. If your argument is sort of ancestral consistency, then why shouldn't we be doing that? Why are we not advocating for that? Do you think that the produce that's available to us today, with what we know in terms of what the science does tell us, that that's a good idea, just seasonally, local and ripe, to even consume some berries, some nuts and things like that?
Well, look, here's the way I would view that. If we're going to use the ancestral consistency as a reason to eat any plant material at all, fine, okay. The reason that our ancestors ate any plant material at all, I would surmise, would be in subsistence between successful hunts. Okay. Here's what it was. They dug up these, we're calling them tubers, but they're not like tubers of today, not like potatoes, not like sweet potatoes, nothing like that. We're talking about stringy, basically roots, bulbous roots, if you like, that were consisting of basically fiber. And what ancient humans did is they had to boil these fibrous things for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to get them to break down enough that we could even eat them. And then we'd eat these things, and then we had a small capacity to ferment some of that material, a very small amount of it. And the result that we got from fermenting the fibers was a short-chain fatty acid, butyrate, which is 100% saturated. It's a fat. It's not a sugar. These roots contain basically no glucose to speak of, no starch to speak of. We've selectively bred modern tubers to have much more starch and be sweeter and much more palatable and need a lot less cooking and all of that. So if you want to be ancestrally consistent, absolutely. Anytime that you can't afford meat or you can't get meat or catch meat or whatever, absolutely go and eat some roots of selected plants that aren't too toxic for us. You better go and ask your ancient ancestors which ones are okay. Avoid everything that's a human invention that's been selectively bred over generations to be more palatable and eatable and basically full of sugar or starch, which breaks down to sugar. Avoid all of those things. And then you're being ancestrally consistent. Go for it. But basically, you walk into a supermarket or a greengrocer or marketplace or any of those kind of places where plant-based so-called foods are for sale, you won't find a single thing there that isn't a human invention.
A lot looks like it's been hybridized from the looks of things, modified, or they've increased the size, they've deleted genes and the bitterness and things like that.
At the end of the day, our ancestors ate very, very few nuts, seeds, berries. I mean, berries for once were available several weeks a year, if you're lucky. We didn't have them all year round. We didn't have aeroplanes and boats bringing them around from the other side of the world or anything like that. When they were available, we took advantage of it, sure, which was rarely. And also people say, oh yes, but the Hadza eat honey. Well, several things there. Number one, the Hadza are a modern people. How do I know? Because they exist now. We can go and see them if you like, if you can find them. And they say, oh, well, we've been eating honey forever, they say, apparently. Perhaps as long as, in living memory. But do they do that every day? Oh, we went and got some honey from a hive and ate it that day, says that individual who actually didn't do that. They sat and had a photo op, but there you go. He was told the story about the last time they went to a hive and got some honey. They don't do that every day.
Right. Yeah.
It's a rare treat sort of thing. Absolutely, human beings are opportunistic, and we do have the metabolic capacity to cope with some sugar, some carbohydrate, some starch in our diets without dropping dead immediately. But nonetheless, it is a subsistence thing for human beings to do, to consume carbohydrates. We are not designed to do that.